What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of TAETRO Talks. We're a little bit earlier today, so I thank you all who are here and joining us today. I see people in the chat already, so thank you so much. I see Nacho over in the 343 Labs chat. If you folks are watching, you can watch both on my channel and on the 343 Labs channel. So make sure you tune in where you see fit. But also in the TAETRO chat, I see Samuel Messiah, Dan, Manuel, Nick Lovin, Yusuf, Carlos, Princess Smith. They say they miss me. Princess, do I know you? I probably know you. Sky, Keegan, Scott, Vincent, what's going on? Mick Benjamins, my friend, our friend from Native Instruments. Bueno is here. Bueno was in the stream earlier today. Carlos is here. Welcome. But most of all, we must welcome our guest, Robert Babicz. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're brought to you today by 343 Labs, which is an electronic music school based in New York. We got a site in Berlin, and we're also online, but we'll talk about that later. Robert, first I want to talk to you. You're a music producer, a mastering engineer, a performer. That's like just the headlines. That's what the headlines say about you. Mm-hmm. But I would love to hear how do you describe yourself as an artist?
Okay, I'm doing this whole thing for 30 years already. I see myself as a storyteller.
I love that.
I'm telling stories in music, and from the technical point of view, I see myself as an advanced beginner. Still learning every day.
After 30 years.
After 30 years. Doing mistakes, learning, doing mistakes, learning.
That's all we can do, right?
Yes. And
what are some mistakes that you've learned from? Can you think of any?
Oh, I did so many, but lately actually I am doing mistakes on purpose to have happy accidents.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more about that. What does that look like in practice?
Yeah, that means like you take, let's say, okay, you know this machine for sure, right?
Oops. Yeah, Skype is blurring it out for us, but we know that machine.
Okay. Yeah, it's blurring.
It's censored. It's classified. Oh, there we go. That's perfect.
This has like CV and gate out, and I have a big modular wall here, and connecting things that should not be connected, and running it like through 5 effects in a row, doing things it was not planned to do. And
what kind of results do you get? Do you get like surprisingly good results?
Yes, actually, yes. You can create amazing strings out of a TB-303.
For sure.
If you do it right.
Who knew?
And granulars modules are a great thing. Makes fun. And yeah, like also playing live and not doing any cuts makes fun.
Because it kind of forces you.
Yeah, it limits you to do things the right way and let things happen. I really like that.
Yeah, and that also like forces the mistakes. Like the mistakes are part of the performance. If it's one take, if it's one cut, if you make a mistake, it's in. So how do you make it work?
And the good thing is nobody knows it's a mistake.
For sure.
That's
like one of the. I used to work with like kids all the time. And Princess Smith, yes, I remember even Westonhouse. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm happy you're here. My mom is also here in the chat. Alman, Carl, and Revin the Ultimate. Revin the Ultimate saying very nice things about you, Robert. It says, Robert seems like he has such a nice soul, always learning. I'm comforting to hear that he shares that attitude after 30 years. Yes, I think that is an attitude we can all strive to have. That's beautiful. But
thank you.
Super interesting and philosophical way to start the interview for sure. Mm-hmm. I guess I want to give some folks a little bit of context into your history too, to really give them that context. But you moved to Germany at a very young age, right?
Right.
And it was sort of at the peak of like early 90s acid acid techno, that sort of stuff?
I started making music 1990 when techno actually started in Germany.
That must have had such a crazy impact on you. And how old were you in 1990?
17.
Seven. That's amazing. I think of the American experience of like every teenager, learning punk rock music and getting a guitar. And like, I feel like that version, the version that you just described of like being 17 in Germany when techno is just starting to happen is such another dimension compared to that. Can you tell me about what it was like to be making music as a 17-year-old back then? Like, because I think of now, everything's so accessible, everything's so much more. I have my laptop, but in the 1990s, not so much, especially when the genre was, just emerging. Do you want to talk about that?
There were no genres. It was strange music for really strange people in strange places.
That's funny.
And it was a rebellious act somehow. I mean, this music was against all this pop culture, everything. I mean, it was dark rooms with a strobo light and strong fog, and you couldn't see the DJ at all or the act. And the dancers on the dance floor were the main people.
Right.
You as a DJ were just helping them to have an amazing experience. And there were no stars or anything. It was about this experience. And then what I kind of miss about this time is that, when you were going out every weekend, you were able to hear new sounds you never heard in your life. It was so amazing going out and hearing new structures, new patterns, new sounds, drums, things. We were like, fuck, how did he make this?
Yeah. Is there a magic in that today? Is that sort of your philosophy of, trying to do things the wrong way or make mistakes on purpose to try to recapture that lightning in a bottle almost? Like, can you relate any experience like that in modern day?
I mean, the idea we had back then was making something of an anti-culture that is, or music that is fallen out of the future. It was really a vision for the future, for a better world, and I still believe in this, of course. I mean, at that time, this was we didn't had internet, we didn't had,
of course,
YouTube and all of this. So my personal school of production was that as Rob Acid, I was setting up all the gear on stage, and I was programming all the machines on stage just before I had to play. So I made patterns in the 303 and the 909 and all the machines. Then I played my gig, completely 100% improvised. And after the set, I deleted everything.
Wow.
On purpose, just to force myself to make a new set next week. And a new set, and a new set. So I did this for years and years. And this forced me to learn, like one of the biggest things I learned was to make a decision. When you decide, okay, this is my clap, this is my hi-hat, I have this variation, this is my bass sound, you have to stick to that. There is no 1 million choices. You do the best out of this what you have.
Of course.
And I learned a lot from that.
I can imagine that after 30 years of that. I guess I want to know a little bit about how does 17-year-old you, like, I get that it's like the rebellious like genre of the moment. So like, are you borrowing gear from friends? Like, did you have a supportive family? Like, it must have been an expensive endeavor at that time.
Actually, I'm coming from we were immigrants in Germany. We were coming from Poland, and my parents were very poor, and they didn't like the idea of me making music. They thought,
Right.
I mean, I was at high school, and they thought, okay, maybe our son will have a better life than us, and he will go to university and I don't know, be an engineer or something. And I decided, I told them, Daddy, Mama, no, I am an artist.
That
And
must have been a tough conversation.
this was a tough conversation, and it ended up in that they were throwing me out of home.
Oh, wow.
Like, really tough. But somehow the universe helped me, because the first gigs came in. It was super low money, but I was able to get a small flat. And I just had a used mattress on the floor, and every money I was able to earn was going into equipment. And of course, I only bought used stuff from somewhere because I couldn't afford any new things.
Yeah.
And I at that time in Cologne, where I was based, all the artists in that musical genre knew each other, and we all borrowed. If somebody had something, he was giving this to another one, and you get something else. And so somehow we we helped each other quite a lot, because
That's amazing.
it was such a small scene. Really, everybody knew everybody, and you knew all the people on the dance floor. Really, it was like a family.
That's amazing. And how quickly did that family grow? Like, how quickly did it grow to a point where you didn't know everybody on the dance floor, or did it ever?
I mean,
I'm sure it did grow that big.
it started, yeah. The first 2-3 years were very local, but then slowly I was booked because I was making music like crazy, and I'm still. I mean, 99% of all my tracks were done in one day, still. And that's why I almost released over 1,000 tracks in this
Wow.
30 years. So I made so much music, and I got booked in like cities around my city, and then slowly, like, first gigs in Holland or in Switzerland or in Austria or in Poland, and slowly it was growing. And then came the first wave of raves when they evolved. So people were renting big industrial places, and then instead of having like 200 or 300 people, you had like 2,000 people in front of you.
Right.
It
That
started
must
to
have been
explode.
shocking. Yeah.
And then we had the Love Parade in Berlin every year. It was a big movement, super exciting time.
I
And
can
I think
imagine.
I had my first US show in 1995, I think.
Was that a crazy moment for when all of this started to pick up and it became a full-on touring experience and then an overseas touring experience? Like, what was coming to terms with that like? Because you start out just as a kid playing for these small rooms in this
Yes.
small community, and now all of a sudden it's this huge thing. Do you think you understood it at the time, like fully like
No.
felt the weight of it?
Actually, I was at that time when I started making music, I was a very shy boy, and I was almost afraid of people somehow. But I because my heart told me to do this music thing, I had to overcome this. And I think the first couple of years, I was really just playing and looking at my equipment. And quite often after the show, people came to me and told me, "Hey, Robert, your music is fantastic, but please smile at least once, just a
Yeah.
small smile, please." And then I took this like serious, and then I tried to learn to look a little bit like a bit into the crowd and open up, because I was very, very busy with playing, because everything was, like I said, totally improvised, and I had 70 kilograms of instruments with me. So many keyboards, synthesizers, sampler, sequencers, everything was running. And for me, it was always very important that every machine had its somehow own sequencer, so it was synced. But I was like conducting the band.
Yeah. This electronic conductor, essentially.
And things, of course, were going wrong.
It must have looked like a spaceship up there on stage.
Yes, totally. I'm still sitting here in a spaceship.
In a spaceship, yeah. I just, it keeps coming back. Like you're so bold in doing these constant improvised sets, and the way you talked about, deleting them after and setting up all this gear where things could just possibly go wrong. Is there well, after 30 years, I'm sure it's changed, but was there a fear? Because you just got right out there in front of things. So how did you overcome that fear of, yes, things will go wrong, but overall it will be okay? Like, how did you convince yourself of that? Because it seems so, I think a lot of people hold themselves back because of how many things can go wrong, and it seems like you just said, well, things are going to go wrong. Let's make it as complicated as possible and just hope it works.
I think one thing I understood a few years later, why I made it so complicated was because I was just what's the right word? I didn't want to make any arrangements. I was. It's for me. The idea of doing an arrangement was way more complicated than doing music in real time.
Live. That's so funny. I guess because you're just letting it flow, right? Like it's just flowing out of you.
And also all my records that I did at that time were just real-time recordings.
Has that approach changed?
Of course, I was going through many stages, and that's why it's so interesting through this virus situation right now, that I'm going back to this idea of things happen in real time and letting them happen.
Yeah.
I had a different kind of phases in my artist life. As a first, to be an artist, you have to be crazy, and you have to suffer inside. You are crazy if you are an artist, because nobody normal would do this. For sure.
Nobody would opt in to, a crazy risky career, crazy risky situation.
Yeah, and so you have constantly, of course, you have success, but then it's an up, and then you crash again, and you ask yourself, is everything right what I'm doing? And again and again and again. So it's a constant. You grow as a human.
You said it at the beginning. A constant student, like you're just constantly learning.
And somehow the music is also my own therapy. Because it's also the way that I when I'm creating music, I'm speaking to the track, and the music is speaking to me. That's how I decide if, let's say, I'm adding an element to the track, and then I'm asking myself while I'm listening to the track, does this element really help me to feel the idea? I'm completely covered with technology around me. I'm not thinking in technology terms. For me, it's all about this emotion and the story I want to tell. And can I feel the music? Is everything there? Can I go inside the track, look around? Does it make sense? Because for me, I'm working with a Logic. And when I'm opening up my Logic, it's completely empty. And for me, it's like an empty theater stage. And every element that I'm adding, is maybe an actor or maybe just a decoration that I'm putting on stage. And then I try to get the scene right.
Of
And
course.
every track is like a little theater scene or a movie scene. And then if for me, when I'm playing a live set, I can combine all these little scenes to one big, epic, long story and get the
Yeah.
people out there.
That's an amazing just way to visualize creating music. It's from studio to performance. That's super inspiring. We had a question from the chat. We also have a couple of new folks. Gotham, thank you for joining. Don't worry, Princess, did not forget about you. Still here. Yusuf is here. Thank you for joining. Tori over in the 343 chat. Scott, what is up? Thank you all for joining. But Nacho's question was a question about when you immigrated to Germany before the wall was down. And he's asking about, like, how did that impact you? How did that impact the music, the scene in general? What was the impact of that at the time?
About the wall, the Berlin Wall going down?
Yeah,
That,
like before
yeah,
that and after.
yeah. Before that, I think. I mean, I was a child, so Germany was very different when it was divided, and the energy that was when the wall came down, there was like a whole half of a country really hungry for culture, for everything, and that's maybe one of the reasons why even techno got like a worldwide phenomena, because Germany was so hungry for something, for music,
New,
or
refreshing. Yeah.
new, and they put so much energy into this, and that's it exploded. It
Yeah.
was it really exploded, and
That's a really great point. When you're deprived of some great art or some, and you're just striving for something new, something fresh, something you haven't heard before, it does cause that it caused that explosion. Totally.
and this techno was a culture coming from the people. It was not some professor telling you about, oh, this artist, he is holy. No, fuck it. It was coming from the people, and it was made for the people. It was very, like, everybody could do this kind of music. It was something before. You had to learn your instrument for years and years, and maybe you got invited into a band, and long process. And techno changed all of this.
Yeah.
Everybody with a sequencer or a synthesizer could just make something. I mean, my first release was done on borrowed equipment, and actually, I got from a friend at that time a TB303, a TR909, and I had no idea about this. I had a 606, TR606, and a cheap DJ mixer. And this cheap DJ mixer, as you know, or DJ mixer in general, they don't have panning or anything. So to get the signal right, you have to put the whole mixer in mono.
Yep.
That way you could connect all the elements. And at that time, I made a mistake that was a good mistake. I connected the TB303 to the phono input of the mixer.
Wow.
And this distorted the TB303 like hell.
But I'm sure it gave you your signature sound. Yeah.
I loved it. It was exactly this dirt that I was looking for. And then I recorded, I don't know how many tracks, maybe 20 on a cassette. And I saw an advertising in a music magazine. Young record label is searching for new electronic talents, something like that. I put this cassette in an envelope and sent it away. So
what a different time.
The only copy of the whole music, I sent this away.
Oh, that was the only copy. That was the only tape.
The only tape. That was all I did. And lucky me, I got a call a few days later. Man, wow, this is fantastic. We have to release this. Send us the master. And I told
And said, you have it.
him, you have it. This is the master. So, yeah, my first record was pressed from this cassette in mono
Wow.
with a lot of
In
noise.
mono. That's great. That's such a relic from a different time.
Yeah.
It's like a different dimension
And
looking back then.
I'm still from that time. I'm still completely in love with tape, and I'm still recording everything on my tape machine. I mean,
Everything.
now I have a big Studer tape machine here, but still every Babicz track is tape.
Wow. And you really love doing. Have you tried tape emulation? Like you just think nothing lives up to the real thing?
No, of course. I'm buying every tape emulation on the market because I have to buy new tapes. You can record at least maximum 10 times on a tape and then it's useless.
Yeah, it just wears out.
And 20 minutes of tape costs €50.
Wow.
So you have quite some costs. And I would be happy if a plugin would take this away from me. But sadly, the tape plugins are good, but they are not tape.
Right.
It's an effect, and I do like the tape emulation plugins, but they are somehow like I don't know, distortion, compression, EQ thing. But tape,
Yeah.
real tape is a bit different. And until now, nothing really sounds like my Studer. But one day, maybe for sure, I'm really not against any technology. So I still hope.
Yeah. And before we jump to kind of present day and now, I want to take a minute and say thanks everybody for tuning in. I know we're a little bit earlier today, earlier than usual, but we appreciate all the viewers across, both my channel and 343 Labs channel, where we're also streaming. Today's interview is brought to you by 343 Labs and 343 TV. For those of you who don't know, 343 Labs is an electronic music school. We have classrooms in New York, in Berlin, and online virtual classrooms. For the most part, all of our classes are online. Actually, all of our classes are currently online. So no matter where you are in the world, you can take a course with a really, really talented instructor. We have, folks teaching Ableton, Logic, Techno geniuses. We've got Bitwig Certified Trainer, Ableton Certified Trainers, all that. Synthesis, mixing and mastering, songwriting, music theory, anything you pretty much need to know. Check out the website, 343labs.com. Just take a look at the course catalog, see if there's any courses you might think about taking. We're looking at safety precautions, keeping everybody super safe, but we're trying to come up with a safety protocol so that we can reopen New York soon and hopefully have social distance and keep everything sterilized and make sure everybody's safe. But we're very, very close to having a plan for that in the next coming month. So it's something to look forward to. But check out 343labs.com. And just let us know what you think. If you're in the chat right now and you want to just pop it up in another window, would love to hear what you think of the site, what you think of the course selection. Is there anything missing? Anything you would like to see that we don't have? And then we also stream every single day. It's our instructors. So if you want to get a taste of what a class is like, join a daily stream over on youtube.com/343labs. Robert, you brought up so many amazing points, and I feel like we've talked about so much in so little time. So I want to bring it back to present day, and maybe let's talk about the impact of this quarantine COVID situation on you as an artist. What has the impact been so far? What are we 3 months, 4 months into it now? What is time anymore?
I mean, for me, playing my live sets was the main income. So it hit me quite hard because from one day to the next, all shows got cancelled. Basically, my income was gone.
Right.
I'm kind of happy that I had my mastering thing going on, and it helped a bit. And at the same time, I started to teach because people were coming to me and asking me, and can I help them? So I started to help. And because I don't have any secrets, I'm sharing everything I learned.
Yeah.
It was okay, but yeah, very, very hard first weeks of not knowing how things can go.
Right.
But then after a few weeks of depression, I understood that maybe it's also a chance, because now everybody stays at home. All the artists, all this you know, the scene grows so big that it's not equal anymore. At that, the beginning of techno was everybody is equal. It doesn't matter which religion, which color you have, where you come from, if you're rich or you're poor. We are all one.
Yeah.
And we lost this. Really,
But
we
now there's
lost.
celebrities. So now it
You
goes
know,
from the dark room with you don't pay
yes,
attention to the person on stage. Now the person on the stage is the focal
is
point.
the focal point, and we have big stars, and now even the biggest stars stream from home,
Yeah.
like the small guys. You know, we are
It's
all the
even the
same.
playing field.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a reset, and everything came down. And at the same time, I think it's a big chance for us artists to rethink ourselves and let things happen, and maybe new kind of music evolves because we are not forced to be functional. You don't have to make music that works 100% on the dance floor because we don't have a dance floor.
We're not on the dance floor. Yeah. And it
So
almost comes
we can
back to that
dance here.
community. Yeah,
Yes.
it comes back to that idea of community that you mentioned, like knowing everybody on the dance floor back in the day. Because I think of me with this COVID situation when it happened, I went head on into live streaming. Okay, like let's really beef this up because everybody's going to be at home and let's get the community together. But I think of what you said about knowing everybody's name on the dance floor, and I look in the chats right now, and you know we have people like Toy Grossman, Scott Vincent, Juanes
Yeah, you
Martinez,
know your people.
like all these people, effects on, like these people that kind of come to every stream. And I'm wondering if this is a moment now for artists where digital community will be closer than ever because that's all we have.
It's I think it's a chance for us. Somehow the universe took care to make a reset, and we have to use this
Yeah.
artistically, also from the human side. Connect with your people. Yeah, I mean everything stopped, like boom,
Yeah. All of a
and
sudden.
and now we have to see to look what is possible. And for me, very interesting. Like I started to sign. I found in a live stream. I found an 18-year-old boy from Germany, and I signed him straight
Wow.
away because I really loved what he was like sending me, and it was like a live stream where I was listening to demos, and I straight signed this guy. Or I'm doing a co-op with a known um, uh, psytrance guy from Israel, something I never was connected with, but it's super interesting to look over your borders, over your small.
Yeah.
This is my music, and this is your music. Maybe we can all, things. All this we can put the borders down again, like the
Yep.
walls fall, and let things happen.
Because there are no digital borders really. Like
Yeah.
it used to be like travel was preventing us from getting together and collaborating, but now there's no travel and we can travel digitally, you know, like this.
Yeah, but there is this walls in our heads that my musical style and your musical style is so different. We cannot work together. It's
Right.
but that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all music, and just open your mind and let it in.
Yeah.
I mean, there like for me, there are only two genres. There's music that is touching me and music I don't feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
That's a great way of looking at it. You I like to be able to survive this situation as an artist, especially as someone who's touring was a main source of income. I also just think back to your history as an artist. You must have learned some very important business lessons very young and very early to survive as an artist. And it seems like there's been an entrepreneurial mindset almost for you, especially now when you have to think about your skill set. You've got your mastering skill set. You are a producer, then you could also teach. Was that always was that a conscious thing, being super entrepreneurial and making sure you can, live off of this, or did it come naturally? I'm curious about that.
I think it came naturally, and as a businessman, I'm not a businessman, because if I would be a businessman, I would do different kind of music. That's music that makes
commercial
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing music that I want to listen to. So and I'm just thankful that other people like what I like to listen to.
Yeah.
And like the mastering thing was never planned. It happened because I just was playing around and people started to like the way how my music sounded, and other artists started to ask me, hey, can you help me improve my sound? And it was like a natural thing.
Yeah.
And I was helping or teaching somehow. All like people were asking me questions always, and
Yep.
that's I was never afraid of losing a secret detail.
I think that's the biggest myth, because everything is just out there. Like all the information's out there. You can watch your famous producer like break down their most popular track. Like pretty much any like big name producer has a video like that, and like they're just giving it all away. But what do you think the difference is between it's all out there, so why isn't everybody doing it?
Because it has to do with your inner self. Not everyone is an artist. Not everyone wants to confront himself with, like, you have to go all in, or it's just an hobby. And it's okay if it's a hobby, really.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but if you think you really want to do this, you have this inner fire. It's burning in you. And other people can feel this fire in you. You feel when somebody is coming to you that you feel it. It's a different energy.
Right. Yeah, that's such a thing to distinguish about the hobby versus like, are you a hobbyist or are you an artist? Because, we all have things that we love to do that we're not constantly trying to, improve at. I talk about this all the time, but I love video games. Like I just love playing Call of Duty, but I'm not trying to be a professional Call of Duty player. Like I don't have that burning inside me that you talk about to like practice and improve and get better and like plunge myself into that world. But I do have that about music. And I think recognizing that in yourself, it's just so important, but it can be hard. I think it's hard for young artists to, I wonder what do you think about, a then versus now question where everything was so much less accessible for you back in the 90s or 2000s, less accessible than it is now for sure. And you really had to make a serious decision about, am I going to invest myself and my time in this? Where now it's much easier. We can download an app, we can download a sequencer app. We can download it like for free and start playing around with it. And it's not that much of a commitment. Do you think that it might be harder, even though there's so much more access now? Do you think it's a little bit harder for artists today to really, develop themselves and commit to being artists because of the accessibility?
I think actually yes. Right now you can do, basically if you have a computer, you have a recording studio,
Right.
and you can get everything for free. Mostly everything. There's a free version out of anything. If you even don't have any money, and just have somehow a computer or even a phone these days,
Right.
you can do music, and you have millions or billions of choices what you can do. when I started, you just had one drum machine and you
Yep.
had this, and that's all. And maybe you were able to have a sampler with a few seconds of memory where you could, if you were cutting very in a good way, you were able to throw in some more sounds.
Right. But you had to be very deliberate about that.
Very, very, yeah. And yeah, I think it's not easy to, when you have this millions of choices available, to find your way right now. I don't want to be 17 again.
So that's actually interesting. You would not want to be 17 now.
Yes.
You would
I
still
think
take the experience
for
you had.
me to had, I mean, I had a hard time and I was fighting for this. So everything I was able to, yeah, to everything I have here around me was paid by my music. Nothing was coming from somewhere. It's all came out of the music, and I was working for this. And the music worked and made this possible. And the fans out there. I mean,
Yeah.
without the people supporting us, we are nothing.
Right.
And I'm very aware of this, and super thankful that the people give me the opportunity to have my life. I can wake up whenever I want. I go to bed whenever I want. I work when I want, or I feel so free, and I'm my own boss. Nobody is telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw the world. I was traveling to almost every country on this planet. It's, I mean, a life I could never ever imagine when I was 17, that this little shy guy from Poland, with this Polish accent in Germany, and I had in the school I had I don't know if if there's an English word. I had a disability of I made a lot of mistakes when I wrote
Yeah.
German.
Like a learning disability. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
like this. And at the same time, I have what's the English word? I My brain is a little bit off. When I hear sounds, I can see colors and
Oh,
forms and things like
synesthesia.
that. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of
was
sense.
for me it was normal. Everything was connected with each other, and I can see sounds. For me,
Yeah.
it's
It's very visual.
visual. But yeah, the people at my teacher back then told me, with your ability of not able to write a sentence without errors, you will never get a job, and you will
Wow.
lose. There's no chance for you in this society. And in the end, now I somehow I'm getting so much love from the people.
Yeah.
Somehow the music that I'm making is touching people. I have so many couples that wrote me that they had their first kiss on a live set,
Wow.
and now they got married and have kids, and sometimes I meet people, they tell me, hey, I started to listen to your music when I was 6 years old, and my bigger brother was listening to this kind of music, and now I'm 22, and I love your music. It's it's
Yeah.
you are somehow part of so many people's life.
It's like because you're putting love out there, right? Like your art is really, though, especially the way you talk about creating it. It comes from yourself. It comes from
Yes.
your personal struggle, your personal darkness, but then it's also an expression, and it's the two categories you talked about: music you can feel, music you cannot. So I imagine that you are constantly trying to make music that you can feel and others can feel.
Yes. And for also, I mean, I have this studio life where I'm the crazy professor,
Yep.
but as well, I'm also the other guy. Maybe you saw pictures of me when I'm on the stage with this red scarf
Yeah. Is
somehow.
it like a transformative identity for you?
Yes, for sure. It's my the thing is I have this concept of when I'm going to the stage, I am the captain on a spaceship, and the people on the dance floor are my crew. And we have to fly and go through big adventures, and I have to make sure that all of them come back safe home. So, I'm the captain. And yeah, the scarf is like my captain cape.
It's just so amazing to me, and maybe you can help people understand this. Like you talk a lot in metaphor and analogy, and some of it goes back to the synesthesia thing, where you have such a visualization of sound. You have that natural ability that a lot of us don't have, but so little of what you talk about is rooted in technical knowledge, even though I'm sure you have the technical knowledge and you know so much. But that there's such a philosophical angle to what you do. And how do you find that balance between the things that you feel and the things that you want to convey emotionally versus skill building and technique?
I of course I'm very nerdy and techy.
Right.
I really go deep in technology things, and a lot of my analog equipment is modded and opened and changed, and I know exactly what I want from gear and how to achieve this. And I'm talking with many people, and I'm trying to learn. That's what I said. I'm learning every day because I'm still not there where I want to go. I still have this feeling there is something I'm missing.
But it will never be found, but it is a good
Who
driving
knows?
force.
Yes. And I'm never really happy with with the work I did. I'm somehow accepting. Okay, this is it. Let's go to the next. And
Tell me, I want to
I
pause that. I
yeah.
want to pause that point there because I think a lot of us, a very common problem for a lot of music producers is, I'm not completely happy. Let me work on it until I'm completely happy, but they never find that moment. So how did you make that decision to say it's good enough? Let's go on to the next thing.
Yeah, okay. I can tell you, I have a few kind of hard rules.
Oh, let's hear them. Perfect.
Let's hear them.
Guys,
Okay.
get your notebooks. Take these notes.
I'm usually starting the studio around like 10 a.m. and then I work through. And of course, you find an idea and you have this loop of elements. And as soon as the loop works in a way that it can run for hours, I know, okay, now it's time to arrange. So I'm going through it. And for me, it's very important to really rush through the track because I want to have this finished as long as every track comes out of a first idea. It's like a small little flame inside you.
Yeah, like a
And
seed.
I want to finish this as long as this flame is there. So I'm really working as fast as possible, and that's why I need some technology because it's helping me. When if I would work only with uh, computer only, I think it would take longer.
Because you
It's
have more
yeah.
options or because it's more in the box?
I think this all in the box thing is somehow limiting you because you have more choices, but at the same time, it limits you because the software designer is telling you how to use things. I can do things that were not planned
Right.
here. and really misuse things and evolve into techniques that were never planned by the designer. But I just run through the track, try to finish it, and then let's say 6 p.m. something like this. The track is ready, and then I make the famous toilet test.
Tell me what that is.
The toilet test is
The toilet test.
I'm playing the track, and I go to the toilet and sit down.
So it's playing on the speakers in another room.
Yeah.
And you go to the toilet and you sit down.
Yeah, and now something very interesting happened. All the details you were working on, all this little automation here and there and this little effect and blah, 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 is gone. You just hear the track from far away, the basic structure of the track. And you change your perspective. And this is giving you like a fresh look on the track without all these little details where you think, this was cool. Wow. But in the end, nobody on the dance floor think about, this delay was later,
Yep.
It's about the energy of the track. And if the track still, if I have the feeling that on the toilet where I'm sitting, feels like, this is interesting. I want to hear it more. This typical feeling when you run through a festival and you hear a track from far away, and you say, "Oh wow, let's go there. This sounds good."
Yeah.
This feeling when I have the feeling that it's like that, then I think, okay, I have done it right. And then the next test would be that I'm playing the track in the lowest possible volume. And when you play a track that is barely here, you can barely hear everything. And when you were good in your mix down, everything should be there. If things disappear or completely, or the kick drum is like 10 times louder than the rest, you've made something. Yep. Something is wrong in the balance. So it's like a balance check. And then, sometimes I just stand up and close my eyes and dance myself to the track, something like this. You can feel the energy of the groove with your body as well. And I have a big speaker system here, so it's also powerful. So I can listen to it loud and in a way that it's even you feel it. And I'm living here without neighbors.
Oh, that's great! Perfect.
So that's very helpful. So I can listen to it and feel the music, and then I'm really deciding if the track is it worth, or it's okay. If it's okay, I go there and delete it.
Really? Completely gone. Don't even save it for anything else.
I delete the whole project and start a new one next day. Wow. And that way, I don't have any unfinished tracks on my hard drive.
And you don't feel skeptical that you might be deleting something that might have been great?
I completely don't care. It's if it's not fitting into, if it's not feeling like strong, to be honest, this music is not overcomplicated. It's not Beethoven,
Yeah.
It's not like super complicated something. We create sounds, we create patterns, we combine them to have emotion.
Well, in a way it is, because it's the way you create music, especially. It's such a moment in time, such live reaction, like synths and sequencers and things reacting to each other, things going quote unquote wrong. And it is a moment, I don't know, I get stuck on that because it's a moment of time that could never be replicated, most likely.
Yes, and that's the good thing. And then if you take out your ego of this, I mean, if you think, I'm such a cool guy, I created this sound and this sequence is mega. then you have a problem. But if you think, okay, the universe was making the music, I'm just the medium. I just let things flow, and if they are great, I'm thankful. If they are just okay, no problem. Next day, tomorrow is a new day, a new universe happen, a new life. Let's start again.
Wow.
I'm. I don't think I have. I like my ego have done something really cool. Just things happened, and I'm just thankful that I was the person where it happened. But
Yeah.
I really don't think I'm something special, or anyone is like super special and me, like the big person on this planet. No, we are all little small humans on this big blue ball in a very big universe.
Yeah. Robert, you have very, very inspiring approach and just outlook on, music and music creation in general. And it's so great. It's great for me. I love sitting here. I love that we get to have this conversation, and I hope the audience, from what I see in the chat, the audience is also enjoying. And we're coming to an end, but I want to just give one more shout out for the school. Today's talk is brought to you by 343 Labs, which is an electronic music school. We have all online classes currently, so you can take classes with our amazing instructors in Ableton Logic, music theory, songwriting, mixing and mastering. Really fantastic instructors every day. If you go to youtube.com/343labs, we have live streams every day where you can learn with a different instructor every day at 1 p.m. EST. Yes, that's correct. 10 a.m. PST. Just learn with us. See what it's like learning with an instructor. And if you are interested, go to 343labs.com. Check out the course catalog. Just let us know what you think of the courses. Please don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, you guys don't have this course, or hey, your website was weird this way, or, anything. We're always open to hearing that. Robert, before we go, I want to have one final question, and maybe you can talk directly to the audience, and maybe you can talk directly to the 17-year-old young budding music producers and electronic musicians out there. Maybe you can give them a piece of advice for developing long 30-year careers, 30-plus year careers as artists in the current age.
I think the biggest advice would be trust yourself. We all have this, there's this inner voice. Trust your inner voice. Even if it's talking not logical stuff, you will learn through the time to listen and trust this inner voice. And then you will get better and better and better. But you will never stop learning. So, I'm like I said, I am an advanced beginner. Not far away from the 17-year-old beginner. I just have a bit more of... I made a few things.
Yeah. That's amazing. Amazing outlook. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Robert.
Thank you for inviting me.
And folks, you can tune in to 343 TV tomorrow with Abe Duque. He is doing the Hardware Basics show at 1 p.m. EST on youtube.com/343labs. So catch him live. He's doing the TR909 tomorrow, and he loves Q&A. So make sure you go and ask some questions over in the chat tomorrow at 1 p.m. EST. Go there right now. If you're in my chat, exit out of my stream, go to youtube.com/343labs and just subscribe and ring the bell so you can get notified about the live streams. I will have a call-in show next Monday, Mentor Monday, and we will be returning next Thursday with an interview show as well with a really cool guest that we will talk about very soon. We will let everybody know who's coming really soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in. 343labs.com. Make sure you subscribe to both 343 Labs and TAETRO. And Robert, I put a link to your YouTube channel in the description. But we should also tell people they can just find you on Spotify and Apple Music and all that, right?
I'm everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. And they can look you up by name and also by Rob Acid, I assume, right?
Right.
Perfect. So you could just copy and paste that name from the title, type it into your favorite streaming service, and just give some tracks a listen. So you could actually hear the music that comes out of this great philosopher slash music producer slash everything else. Robert, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. This has been another episode of TAETRO Talks.